Come on, Chat GPT. There we go. Hey, tribe. Get ready for an empowering journey with the Empowerment Bookstore with me, your host, the Fit Goddess. Now, in each episode, we bring you inspiring stories and powerful insights from exceptional individuals who are making a difference. Today, we're thrilled to have Miss Sierrah Chavis, a motivational speaker, author, and entrepreneur, and CEO of Bossy Girl. Sierra's accomplishments as an advocate for education, diversity, and empowerment are remarkable. Join us as we delve into her journey and discover the wisdom that will ignite your own empowerment. Welcome to the Empowerment Bookstore with me, your host, and our special guest today, Miss Sierrah Chavez. So, without further ado, let's drop this and bring her to the stage.
Hello.
Hello, hello. How are you today?
I am awesome. How are you?
Girl, let me tell you, life has been lifing. I got my new office set up. Don't it look
I
cute?
like it. I love it. And I am glad to be here because I had a little bit of an issue, scare medically. So just to be here and I'm here.
Shame. That part. And I'm so glad that you are with us today. Um,
Thank you.
so let's get into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you became so passionate about advocating for equitable and inclusive education?
Yeah. My journey really started when I was a little girl. Believe it or not, I struggled with reading. I struggled tremendously with academics really early on. My mom noticed that I was just far behind. I have a nickname. My family used to call me Tutu or Tootie because I would say everything twice. So I had like a little bit of a stuttering issue. And so it was really hard for me to. Like I wanted to learn. Like I really, I had this eagerness. Like I wanted to get it, but it just wasn't clicking. And so I had a teacher when I got to about second grade who was like, because they just passing me on, right? They just like every grade level, kindergarten and first grade, they just kept passing me along. But something was missing. And I had a second grade teacher who was like, no, I'm not going to just pass you along. I really want to know what's wrong. And so she worked with me for an entire summer to get me ready for third grade. And by the time I finished with her, I was not only at grade level, I was above the grade level where I should have been at. And I was reading fluently. I was excited about learning because I had became so discouraged. So that's where my passion really started. Was I wanted to work with others that had similar stories like mine that just struggled but just needed somebody to believe in and to say, hey, I see you and I know that you can do this. So
I absolutely love that. They say, um, as we age, we become the thing that we needed when we were
yeah,
little. So it sounds like you took your journey and was like, you know what, there was not this person for me. So now I am this person for those out there that exist.
absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh man. So okay, as the CEO of Bossy Girl, you've created a global sisterhood of empowered
Mhm.
women. Could you share with us the inspiration behind Bossy Girl and the impact it has had on the lives of women around the world?
Yeah. So Bossy Girl actually was birthed when I was teaching early on in my career. I uh, saw a need for young women to have a role model, to have mentorship. And there just wasn't a lot of resources in the school system that I was working at the time for young girls. We had Girl Scouts and you had, churches that would do it, but these girls needed a safe space to just be themselves outside of the other resources that they may have had. Somebody that looked like them, that could relate to them, and that wouldn't judge them, based on. So we would teach them everything from social etiquette to how to dress, how to behave, how to communicate, how to problem solve, how to resolve conflict. We had girls that just their first line of defense would just be to, you know, curse and yell and scream, and that was their way of, you know, defending themselves or trying to resolve a conflict. But that wasn't always, and not always, the best way or route to go. So we wanted to teach them how to carry themselves as young women, and especially as minority or black women, because we were working with young black girls. And so yeah, so that's where, so it was called Women Inspiring Girls at the time. And that helped. I did that throughout my 6 years in education, as far as the elementary level. And I worked with a few middle school girls as well. But then Bossy Girl came about a couple of years ago. So I had this vision of wanting to there was a lot of young girls in like the middle school, high school, and even early college that was like, hey, I want to be a girl boss. Like, I want to own my own business. I want to like be a leader. Like, how do I do that? How do I get started? And it was like, oh, okay. We need more representation, because there's so many girls that want to be. I mean, when we think about like who we've had, right? Like black women that have, we see in the world, right? Like Kamala Harris and our vice president, like so many girls could see themselves in her, right? When you think about like Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, like, oh my gosh, so many young girls could and men, young men could see themselves being that. But how do you help girls to translate that
That's
into
right.
the world that they're in right now? You know, like how do they see themselves? They living in poverty. How do they see themselves as being more than just their environment? So I wanted to show them that they too can be girl bosses right now in their environment. And we're going to teach them the tools that they need, but also give them a mentor that looks like them. So you want to be a hairstylist, you want to own your own salon. I'm going to show you another black woman who's doing the same thing, who's successful at it. You want to be in the nonprofit world and have your own nonprofit business. I'm going to show you a successful black woman who's doing that. So that's really what it is. It's about representation. So that's why we birthed Bossy Girl, was to show that girls who look like them can do it and have been doing it, and they can too.
Oh, yes. I love it. And I love that you said that they're women inspiring girls, because there is a huge disconnect. And I'm sure you're well, between the womanhood community. There's not a lot of sisterhood. Well, let me rephrase. Nowadays, there is more sisterhood than there used to be when I was a
Mm-hmm.
young girl. When I was a
Right.
young girl, we were of the tribe. I ain't got no girlfriends. I hang out with more boys than I do girls, which is a very, for
Mm-hmm.
me, for my life, a very weird stance to take, because
Right.
as a woman, as a young girl, I need to know the same things you need to know, and you are the only one best suited to assist me through this journey. Like, hey sis,
Absolutely.
this is happening with your body. Like, cool, men can help to a degree. I'm not saying that they're not worthy or whatever, but
Right.
in this situation, that connect between the elder women, the middle-aged women, the young woman, the adolescent. Like, everybody goes to the babies, but then once they're
Right.
done being babies and they start talking back and, neck rolling and all of that, then it's like, I don't know if I want to deal with this. But we have
Absolutely.
to. We have to continue to shape and mold that, because those attributes are phenomenal when yielded the right way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what it's about. It's about helping the next generation of young women to be all that they can be. Because, yeah, I mean, every generation is different and came from different experiences, had different resources at the time. Some lack of, and some have more. And I think when we think about this cycle, because I talk a lot about a cycle, generational cycles,
Very
and
nice.
plagues in families that have corrupted the family system, right? You think about poverty, and you think about how some kids, it's a cycle, right? Like grandmama was poor, mama was poor, daddy was poor. Now
Right.
kids are poor, and we want to break that cycle, that poor man's mentality, to say you don't have to be this just because this is where you came from or this is who you are. You can break the cycle now because you can see yourself bigger and doing something completely different and opposite of what your parents may have done. And not a hit on anybody's parents and what the lifestyle they chose, but understanding that that's not what you want, then you don't have to see yourself in that. So we
Correct.
really talk a lot about representation and what that means for our kids. Like, if you want to be this, then let me show you this person who's doing that,
Who's
because
doing
that
that?
will help you to see that you can do it, and this is what you need to get there.
Correct. That's what you just got to show the steps. Anything is
Yeah.
possible as
Yeah.
long as we show you one, the why. We help you figure out your why and then get you into a organized path on how we get
Yes.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, speaking of organized paths, right? You have received numerous accolades for your work, right? That's why I put the picture up before you came on. I was
Yes.
like, sheesh, a woman you want to know.
Ah,
But
yeah, that was big.
listen, I'm honored that you're on the show. So, not
Oh
to mention
no,
that, would you?
I'm honored to be here, honestly, and talk with you. And anytime that I can be able to connect, and I'm a huge like networking type person. I love networking. I was so sick the last few days, but today I got up. I was like, I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to go out in these streets and I'm going to meet people. And it so happened I had on my calendar day to go to this mixer at the library. It was all these different community partners coming together, and we
Very
just
nice.
talk and share. And I just learned so much, but that's what I'm about, just connecting people, because you never know. My mom used to say, like, you've never met a stranger, because I will go up and talk to just a random person on the street and just ask them, how are you doing? And they'll look at me like, are you crazy? But for me, I just like knowing people. I like learning about people. So, but yeah, no, that award was huge, huge for me, because I mean, I was amongst some really like heavy hitters. If you read all the women that were nominated and selected, I mean, these are women across the world. Number one, who are just high level bosses. I mean, CEOs of companies, multiple billion dollar companies, like just off the chart, like, they're in spaces that I hope to someday be in. And I know I can do it, because one thing I always tell people is that you have to surround your energy around people that you want to, that one are like minded, but that you want to aspire to be like. Because for
That's
me,
right.
if I surround myself with people who are not moving the same direction as me, who don't have the same values or the same go getterness, it's not even a word, but I'm gonna make one up real quick, who
I like
is
it.
not out there being bosses and out there trying to get it, like just nothing's gonna stop them, then it's like I'm gonna be held back from what I really want to do. And so I always surround myself with people that are like-minded, that just strive for greatness, that just want to go out there and just, they see something, they just go for it. So that award it was an honor, and it was a very long process. I would say it was a lot of interviews, a lot of talks, it was a lot of submitting this, submitting that, recommendation letters, talking to people that knew you. And it was like, wow, to be chosen was pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. I'm laughing here because I see Alchemic Aura. Those of you that have watched our show before know that that's my mom. And she typed the thing that I was thinking too: surround yourself with like minded people. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So, how would you say that these recognitions have influenced your mission and further fueled your dedication to making a difference?
Yeah, it just continues to inspires me. Every award that I receive, I always tell people it's really truly not about me. It really is about the impact that I'm able to continue to have on others. It feels good to be recognized, of course. It feels good to know that your work is paying off, but more importantly, it feels good to know that people are benefiting from it. Their lives are being impacted in a positive way. So I'm always honored. I'm always um, after every award, I'm always like, okay, what's next? Because I want to do more, and I know that there's so much more out there for me to be doing. So I'm always looking, like I said, to network and figure out how can we work together to make a bigger impact. Because again, I don't like to just do things by myself. I'm a big convener. I'm a big person
Right.
likes to bring people together. So if I know you're doing this and you're doing that and I'm doing this, how can we make all of it work
Do those
and
things
do
together.
one big thing? Yeah, like, oh, you got a restaurant. Okay, so you got a hair salon. So you got let's do a big back to school thing where you cook and you bring the hair and resources, and I bring this and the third, because I feel like that's what community is about. That's what giving back looks like, and that's what how you build momentum. That's how you build just love and just a community of people that just want to see others strive and thrive. So I'm all for it. It's a motivator for me. Every award is a motivator.
Ooh, I love that. A community love. I
Yeah.
love it. So you are that as well. You are a motivational speaker. What are some key messages or advice that you often share with your audience to inspire and empower them?
Yeah. So one of my books that I wrote was called No Shame in My Pain. So I'm very open about my pain. I'm very open about the things that I've been through. And one of that was domestic abuse. I went through that at a very early age. I was in my teens. I was away from home. I had no idea um, what the signs were in the very beginning until I started to research and I started to have more conversation about it. And, so I went through a period of time where I was depressed, I had anxiety, I was going through a domestic abusive situation. I was a young mother. You know, was 20 when I had my first child. So I was very young. I was in college. So I talk about the different life events that happened to me that were scary, that were hard, that were difficult, that for a lack of words, I mean, it was traumatic for me in some cases. And so I would say a lot of what I discuss is just how to heal through and navigate your pain, because pain is real. And we all deal with pain on some level, whether, you scrape your knee or you get into a car accident or you have something traumatic happen to a family member or to yourself. Pain is real and the grieving process is real. So I talk a lot about just how to start to heal from those different events. And one of the things that I say a lot in my speaking is that you can't heal what you don't reveal, right? And so what you don't reveal, and not saying revealing to others, because quite frankly, it's nobody's business unless you want to share it, but revealing it to yourself. Because I think a lot of times I talk about wearing a mask, and for years, I wore a mask. I covered up and I hid behind my smile. So people would never know. They're like, oh, you're so happy. But deep down on the inside and at night, and no one knew the tears that would come from my eyes, the pain that I was feeling. And so I talk about just the moment. My aha moment was when I was honest with myself that this wasn't right, and I needed help. So my speaking is really centered around healing through your pain, mental health, being aware, being self-aware, being in love with yourself. Part of the reason why I went through that domestic violence situation was because I didn't love myself, and I suffered tremendously with low self esteem, low confidence, and part of what I talk about is how to start loving yourself, how to start paying attention to yourself. And so that's where I help young women to help them understand that your first love is to yourself, of course, to God, right? Like God all the way, because I'm faith based, but also to yourself. Like no one's gonna love you the way that you're gonna love yourself. And so that's one of the things that I pour into young girls is that self love, self care is important for your mental health.
Mm. That's absolutely, and the Goddess Tribe is all about that. It's part of our mindset.
Yeah.
Whereas you come first, and it sounds very selfish, but you have to be full of self in order to be able to be abundant and give to anybody else. So we love that you also do that within your work and your practice. It
Yeah.
sounds like you've accomplished so much already. And if I remember correctly, you're about to embark on a doctoral program for educational leadership?
Yeah. Yes, I am, with a
Sheesh.
focus on health. And so I'm really big about just public health and education and being able to support people on their journey as they're navigating their mental health. So, really tying in education and health together because I think it's just important to to know when and how to get help, and I'm doing more studies around that. So yeah, I start that in the fall. I'm excited.
Oh, congratulations. So
Thank
with that,
you.
what are your other aspirations for the future? And like, how do you plan on what is your kind of light work outline of how you plan to make a positive impact in the field of education?
Yeah, you know, every day is a new day for me to learn something new, and I'm a huge proponent of you never stop learning. I mean, even when you don't think you're learning something, you are learning something. And so I always set myself, I have a goal for myself that every day I'm going to learn 5 new things, whether that's about somebody, something. So I'm always researching, studying, looking up things, meeting new people. But my goal for myself is every day I'm going to learn 5 new things. And so whatever that is. And for me, the future is really it's bright, but I would say I hope to continue my research work because I'm being in this doctoral program is going to come with a lot of research and a lot of being able to create new programs for inner city kids to have opportunities to be able to go out and do what they want to do and what they hope and aspire to become. So, Bossy Girl is something that I'm really passionate about. I'm working on to be more out in the world, in the communities. I'm hoping to build that up to make it a large nonprofit organization because right now all of our services are free. So I want to continue that. And with that comes funding and it comes, just having more opportunities to be in the communities. So that's what I'm hoping is to take Bossy Girl international. So we are talking with some
Ooh.
people in Africa, Ghana. I've met a few women from Ghana who want to have this mentoring program, and the women of Ghana are so remarkable. They are the most beautiful people. Oh my gosh, and I can't wait. I'm hoping to go and visit in a few more years, maybe 1 or 2 more years. I'm going to go and visit because I will love to work with some of the women in Ghana, and particularly in some of the most underserved and communities that they have.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm really excited because they really want this program there. So, we'll see.
Well, shout out to that. I know that if you're ever looking, I know two individuals. One is into fashion, a designer that I work with, Divine Creations. She makes homages and self exploration trips over I think she's gone to 7 different countries within the continent.
Okay.
And then
Wow.
I also know a belly dancer who takes pilgrimage over there often with her troupe
Wow.
to, learn more about, because belly dancing is from Egypt and Egypt is from Africa.
Yes,
That means it is from us, just for those that didn't
it
know. And she does a
is.
phenomenal job of one,
Oh,
educating
wow.
you on that fact. And then also, hip movement is phenomenal for women, right? We hold a lot of tension in our hips, a lot of anxiety in our hips. So the ability to be able to move it in
I
freely,
love
and then
that.
also be aware of your sensuality. Like, okay, I know that this movement is going to not only stimulate me, it may stimulate an onlooker, which may or may not be the purpose. There's still a level
Right.
of respect, but it's a phenomenal, phenomenal thing.
I
So,
love
um,
that.
let me connect you with those people afterwards.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you for
Of
that.
course. Now, throughout your journey, you've faced challenges and triumphs. Could you share maybe a specific moment or experience that significantly shaped your outlook on life and empowerment?
Mm. Yeah, I would say, so at 23, I was diagnosed with cancer. And that really did change a lot for me. I was a young mom. I, man, I was away from my family when I found out, and it was in between my uterus walls, and so there was a tumor that was growing in between those walls, and ultimately, they caught it early enough where I could just do chemo and radiation. But it was definitely scary. And for me, I was still going through this abusive relationship on top of dealing with this, trying to go to school, and I was working full time. It was just a lot, just different pieces going on. And I would say what changed for me was knowing that I had to fight for me myself, but also I had a young daughter that needed me. And so for me, there was no time for me to um, not be okay. Like I had to be okay for her to push through and persevere. So I came through that. I had a year of chemo, 6 months of radiation, and I came through that. And that changed my life, but it changed it, I would say, for the better because I used to I would do a lot of complaining. And during that time, I moved away from my Bible, from God. I stopped praying because it was just like, woe is me. Like, why me? Why me? Why me? Why me? And I just remember my mom was a praying woman. She still is. Um, but I knew someone was praying for me because during that time, I couldn't pray for myself. I didn't even have the strength or the energy. But I knew deep down God had me, but it was still like, woe is me, right? Like, why me? Why me? But I knew for if anything, I had to live for my daughter because I wanted her to grow up knowing her mom. I wanted her to grow up knowing that I did all that I could do to be here. And so as much as I wanted to give up and I probably could have given up, I knew I had to stick it out for her so that she could see me at the end of it strong and I did and I'm here. So
Yo, I'm so grateful that you are. And that, man, the babies will do that to you. The babies will be
yeah,
like, yo, I'm here for you. Like I don't
yeah,
I can't go to you till I see that you absolutely positively don't need me anymore.
right.
And then I can go. But outside of that, I'm here until you done with me. Mm,
Yeah, yeah. That was my moment.
I love it. That's pivotal, yo. But so in addition to your work and education, you're also, as you mentioned, an advocate for domestic violence,
Mhm.
race and gender equality, diversity, equity, inclusion, and
Yeah,
belonging. That's a
yeah.
long one. Um, how do you approach these important topics, and what actions do you take to drive change?
Yeah. I sit on quite a few boards, nonprofit boards, and my work with one of my organizations, Finability, which I am the chairperson of that board, and also the co founder of the Survivor Advisory Committee, which is an element of that board. And what we really focus on is supporting women and people who have survived domestic violence and who are victims of domestic violence to understand their rights as it refers to financial stability. Because most times and oftentimes, while you may hear some victims who stay in domestic violence situations, is because of some sort of financial restraint. They're not financially educated, or funds are being withheld from them, or they never worked. And that's not everybody's case, and that definitely wasn't my situation. But there's many women that do suffer from that. And because of that, I wanted to support women on their journey. The other thing I would say is that my work and how I approach it is to really show up in spaces that can support my goals and what I want to do, and supporting those organizations in what they may need. And so I come to them, and we'll have these discussions and these meetings to discuss, how can I support you? How can I help and show up for the people that you serve, whether that be someone in a domestic violence situation, or victims of abuse, or even somebody who, like for me, I taught special education. So, how can I, support schools and helping families understand their rights as it relates to, that inclusion piece, as it relates to the race? Um, I work with organizations that really support and help people understand how to have conversations about equality in the workspace, how to practice equitable, how to have equitable resources for people as it relates to pay, as it relates to, moving up in certain positions. And so in the workplace. And so I really do a lot of consulting work, and I support organizations in that area to how can we be more inclusive? How can we be more diverse in our business model? How can we reach more people in what we're trying to do? So that's really, for me, how I show up for people.
Oh, I love it. Not only are you practicing, which a lot of people do, we study the thing that we want to learn,
Yeah.
but you're applying the knowledge, it seems, that you're learning while you're learning it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um, being that you deal with so many people with sensitivities, I'll say, what advice would you give to individuals who are seeking to overcome obstacles and find their own inner power?
Hmm. Um, wow. I would say the first thing for me is I always go back to that saying, you can't heal what you don't reveal. And so, really taking an honest look at yourself to say to yourself, like, what is it that you want to know about yourself? Or what is something that is stopping you from becoming or being your best self? And everybody's outlook on what happiness looks like for them is different. And so I always start off with the question, especially when I'm working with young people, is what not what do you want to be when you grow up, or what do you hope to become, or but what is it that you hope you don't become? I think like that is key to helping to break generational cycles. What is it that you don't want to become? And young people always like, ooh, I don't want to become this. I don't become that. And you get this laundry list of things they don't want. But I think that's for me always been my practice with young people, to help start conversations about breaking the generational cycle. so that they don't repeat the same cycle as their family members or as their environment. And so that for me is important. I would say I always ask the questions, what is you don't want to become? And then we take it further to say, okay, so you just tell me what you don't want to become. So what is it that you do want to become? What do you hope to become? You know? So for me, that's how I tap into people, and that's how I learn people's stories, honestly. Because that what you don't want to become, you learn a lot about people and where they're
Listen,
coming
that's
from. Mm-hmm.
amazing because most people, our mind is meant or trained to think negatively. So
Mm-hmm.
if they lack self-worth, it's going to be easy for them to riddle off
Mm-hmm.
negativities. And
Yep.
then you in that moment are challenging them to change that thought and be like, okay, that's great. Now that we know all the don'ts,
Right.
what are the do's?
Right. Right.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap this up, because you've given us some great, great information, I'd love to hear about what are some upcoming projects or initiatives that you're currently working on that,
Yeah.
the people out here in Facebook world, YouTube land, that we can look for, and where can we find you?
Yes. So I am working on a lot. We have the Bossy Girl Network. So we are right now. We've been really in our planning season, just planning for the next year. This re structure that I stated earlier, the name change, it really wasn't just about a name change, it was also restructuring the entire concept of what we were originally doing. And I'm bringing on board members. And so I have a team now because before it was just me and maybe another teacher, but now this is like me and a team. So I feel important now. So, but it definitely is getting bigger. And so I'm excited about just that and what we're doing with that. So be on the lookout for a launch date sometime in August, and we're relaunching. So my social medias and website, all of that. I have two interns who are phenomenal, and they're both single mothers. They both are girl bosses in their own right, and they're going to school, and they're everything that that defines a bossy girl, because they're out here and they're getting it. Despite that they're young teen moms, they are inspiring me through these missions. So I'm excited about them, having them on board. But more so, I have a book that just launched called Dear World, What I Haven't Told You. It's a book about real stories, real lived experiences of different people who have experienced different traumas in their life, painful events. We talk about anxiety, depression, molestation. We talk about being a part of the LGBTQ plus community and what that is and how they navigated being a Black male in the LGBTQ plus community. We talk about generation abuse. We talk about childhood traumas and if so much. I mean, you just have to read it. If you ever read like the books Chicken Noodle for the Soul,
So yeah, yeah, that's what it
yeah,
sounds like.
yep, it's that same concept but different. And it's not just a book, it's also a journal. And so I'm a huge big believer that books do change lives,
Mhm.
but I also feel like when you have these type of books, it opens up so many different emotions. So for me, when I'm reading books, I like to take sometimes notes. So sometimes things poke out at me. I'm always highlighting. All my
Mhm.
books are like, highlighted and drawn on and all that, because I'm like I'm seeing things as I'm reading, right? So for
Right.
me, if I'm like that, I can't be the only one like that. So I'm always like, put a journal, have open space, people to write down their thoughts. So part of the book is also open space for people to journal and write. And there's some prompt questions to help people. Sometimes people need like questions to help them, open up about their own stories.
I am one
So
of those.
so there are about like 30 questions in the book that just kind of help you to prompt your own story. And actually, you can turn those prompt questions into your own story. So that's part of it too, that you can hopefully take that stuff that you wrote down, whatever that is, and you can make it into your own book. Because I'm always
Ooh,
about helping the next author,
author.
helping the next person see themselves. So that's another one that I'm also teaching writing classes starting in the fall. I will be working with Midnight and Indigo, which is a Black owned, and they are phenomenal. But they are a online magazine blog. But they also have these writing classes, and it's amazing because they teach other Black authors or aspiring authors how to start. So we talk about everything, and my topic is going to be Your Story, Your Way. And we're going to
Mm,
delve into how to write your own story your way. There's no rules, there's no, you got to do this, you got to do that. No, we're going to dive into how do you begin telling your story.
let's go
Um,
for it.
so, yeah, so that's what I'm working on.
Oh my goodness. That sounds phenomenal, yo. Midnight and Indigo. I'm gonna have to check them out. So
Yes,
before I put you backstage, I want to let you know too that as an author, one, I love interviewing other authors because I am a story reader as well as a
yes,
storyteller. I love learning about individuals. Um, and because this podcast has been so beautiful, I've decided to create a in-person networking event. I like to do things virtual because, everything this is where we meet people.
yep,
But starting July 29th, we will have our first Bookworms Unite. It is a chance for all the authors on this show, the Empowerment Bookstore, to come and meet in person, to rub shoulders, exchange
I love that.
literary everything. But also, we will be in a Black owned bookstore in Newport News. It's a paperback
Yes.
inks all booked up. They will
Oh,
also
love it.
have their manager there to offer you consignment options. So
Oh,
as you're writing
nice.
these books, you'll be able to put them into a black owned bookstore and keep the circulation going. So please, 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 to those of you watching, mark your calendars, July 29th. I believe the
Love
time we're
it.
going for is 3 to 5 p.m. And I'm extending my formal invitation to you, ma'am.
Oh,
I
thank
hope that
you.
you'll be there in
Oh,
person with
yeah.
us.
Absolutely. That is awesome. I love it.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm gonna drop you backstage. It's been so great talking to you. Carol. Hey, tribe. It's been phenomenal today. I hope that you have learned some amazing things. Hold on, I sound a little low. Let's do this. There we go. Oh, yeah, that's much better. So, thank you for joining us on this empowering journey with Miss Sierra Chavez on our Empowerment Bookstore. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights from Sierra's incredible journey as a motivational speaker, as an author, and entrepreneur, not to mention an advocate for equitable education and empowerment. Remember, you have the power within you to create positive change in your life and the lives of others. Embrace your uniqueness, pursue your passions, and strive for inclusivity and equity. Stay tuned for more inspiring episodes where we bring you remarkable individuals who are making a difference in the world. Until then, keep on empowering yourselves and others to create a better tomorrow. Thank you for being a part of the Empowerment Bookstore. Stay empowered, spread positivity. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And we'll catch you next Wednesday for another empowered author. Stay tuned.